Isn't that extraordinary? The soothsayer and visionary James Burke is with me. My word, when you look back at that, are you amazed, as the rest of us are, at how closely you called the future?
A bit, yes, but don't forget, those were the days in '85 when we were intensely optimistic about the future. It was white hot technology, it was called, and all that. I am a bit surprised at some of it was the way in which some of it was wrong. The internet has come much faster than I expected, and much more prevalent, much more widespread. But, and I didn't put a date on this, so I'm off the hook. The future possibility that everyone would be educated by it, and that there would be more direct democracy because of it, has not yet happened. And I think that's because basically we live with institutions that were created in the past with the technology of the past to solve the problems of the past according to the values of the past. And we still live with those strapped around us, and they tend to hold back quite a lot of things, like the two I've mentioned.
So we've asked you to look at 3 predictions for the future. And we're going to start with politics because, of course, the internet has such a profound impact on politics. It seems to me our government's not only floundering at trying to deal with this, but government itself, our institutions, our representatives are being formed by what we're seeing on the internet.
You stole my line.
But where does it go
I think
there?
Basically what's happening, I think, is the first part of what I said about the internet giving people access to knowledge. It has, in one way, it's given them access, it's given them a voice that they didn't have before. I mean, you know, parliamentary democracy was set up because we had lousy roads and no telecommunications back in the 17th century. And it worked perfectly as long as that was the situation. Now, people have the kind of ability to make their voice heard, as we see in protests in the streets for the first time, which I think express their view that the institution of parliamentary democracy no longer functions as fast as they expect.
So we don't need a House of Commons?
I don't think we do. I think ultimately within the next 40 years we will see that the House of Commons will disappear to be replaced by a form of direct democracy. You see, we have this stuff now already called big data and predictive analytics that allow us to read on the internet about what people do, buy, go, think, enough to be able to say in this early stage what their preferences about life are. And those preferences are a great deal larger than those offered by 2 or 3 political parties. And I think that will be primarily the driver of what causes the parliamentary system to change or disappear in that sense.
So, James, that's the politics side of things. Let's look forward on the production side of things. How do you see manufacturing and production changing? You talk about nano factories. Oops, no, let's talk about education first of all. I'm sorry, I've jumped the gun there. Let's talk about education. How is that going to change?
One leads to the other. I think fairly soon, maybe in the next 20 years, we'll start to see teaching mediated by the use of avatars on the screen, which may not necessarily be a screen. It may be like maybe something that just appears in the air in front of you. And those avatars will be so like human beings that the child will not recognize that it is not a human being. And the trick will be that the avatar will teach the child what the child, or we believe the child, needs to know in the way that that particular idiosyncratic child wants to learn, using all the tools that you can by using, you know, television techniques at the moment anyway. And so each child will be taught personally, but in that way, to learn the facts that we think they should need, which would leave the human teachers to do the job for which they're really created, which is to teach a child to grow up to be an adult.
So we just have time for production. I want to talk about nanofactories and what you mean by those.
Well, if you put 2 molecules together, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen, you get H2O, which is water. If you can put atoms together in any way like that, you can make things. And the prediction would be that within 40 or 50 years, there'll be a thing called a nanofabricator using dirt, air and water to produce anything you want, free, because the energy will be produced by spray-on solar cells, which means that if you want a block of gold, a perfect copy of the Mona Lisa, food, clothing, whatever, you tell it and it makes it for you. Now, the idea is that each one of these things can make another one of itself. So 1, 2, 4, 6, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, enough for one for everybody on the planet within 2 months. The advent of the nanofabricator would be probably the most important thing that's ever happened since we left the caves, and it will make everything we've discussed so far, and you this evening, irrelevant.
That's been said before.
Wow.
That has been said before.
Wow.
I'm thinking avatars, no House of Commons, products to order. Is that the sort of world you'd want to live in?
Oh, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, a world in which everything happens the way I want it to happen? Yes, perfect.
Well, you're looking very good 30 years on. Very good. James Burke, thank you very much.
you.
I should say, Catty, we've been searching for him all week. He was right under our nose. He's still working. He's here doing stuff with the sky at night. Extraordinary.